I love poker, even though I'm not any good at it. I think there's nothing else like it. Every hand is a study of the human condition. I love that it's a skill game, but the skill is basically pretending how good you are at being lucky. Obviously, I find it fascinating, so I really enjoy watching the World Poker Tour on television. The World Poker Tour is the major leagues of poker, a series of events that takes place in casinos across the globe each year, bringing the best players from all over the world together to battle it out on the felt. I want to talk about what I consider to be the best WPT final table of all time, the 2015 Choctaw event taking place in Durant, Oklahoma, the inaugural iteration of this event. In case you don't know, the way a World Poker Tour event works is that there's a buy-in, in this case $3,700, and anyone that can afford that fee can enter in the tournament, pros and amateurs alike. There are unlimited re-entries for the first 2 days, and then on the third day, everyone plays until there are only 6 players remaining. And then on the fourth day, the champion is determined out of those 6 remaining players. This event had 1,175 total entrants with a prize pool of just under $4 million, with the winner taking home $682,000 and a Hublot watch. I'm not a fancy man, so I had no idea what a Hublot watch was, but based on what Googs told me, this is probably like a $20,000 or $30,000 watch. The participants for this final table were Alex Linsky, a professional poker player from Australia, Andy Wong, a professional poker player with 1 WPT championship and over $1 million in tournament winnings, Nina Greco, a professional poker player from Houston, Texas, Darren Elias, a professional poker player with 2 WPT championships and almost $3 million in tournament winnings, Jake Schindler, a professional poker player with over $4 million in tournament winnings, and the reason we're all here, Jason Brin, a carpet store owner from DeSoto, Kansas. If you watch a lot of these WPT events, you'll realize that most professional poker players are cut from a similar cloth. Sure, you have your characters and your loose cannons in the professional scene, and there's a certain decorum that most adhere to. And when you're playing at an elite level, there's a style of play that's anticipated and expected at these kind of tournaments. With Jason, that is all out the fucking window. When they're all seated at the table and things are starting to get going, you can tell the 5 pros think it's a freak accident that Jason's even there. They all think it's an almost foregone conclusion that he's going to be out of their way any minute. And somewhat on cue, he goes all in on the first hand, but nobody takes him up on it. And this is where we get the first taste of Jason's banner, which is a mix of poker jargon and absolute nonsense.
I played tight yesterday. It sucked.
Now you can play crazy today?
I'm gonna play crazy today.
How crazy?
I'm gonna get it all in many times until I win.
How good of a hand do you need?
The nuts.
The nuts?
Yeah.
You just said you were gonna play crazy. Playing crazy with the nuts isn't that crazy?
Limited crazy.
And it almost immediately gets under the skin of all the professional players.
Which one of you guys a bust?
Yeah, I wish you'd bust too.
I think if you're gonna win a big money poker event like this, the main thing you need is confidence. Confidence that you're making the right decisions, that you're staying in at the right times, that you're folding at the right times. Confidence that you know exactly what your opponent is going to do before they even know what they're going to do. Unfortunately for the pros, it's hard to have any confidence like that when you're sitting next to a absolute wild card like Jason Brin. And also, unfortunately for the pros, the only thing Jason brought to the table was unbridled, unchecked confidence.
You lying son of a bitches.
The most relatable thing about Jason is that he's really just having fun out there. Before this, I'm assuming his entire poker experience is home games, like in his basement, getting drunk with his friends, having fun, and that's the energy he brings to the table. He's literally on vacation here. Finally doesn't have to think about the carpet store for a week, just having fun at the casino, throwing back some brews and playing some cards. At one point, he literally goes over to the commentary booth during a hand and tells them how he's gonna win. My man is living the dream right now.
It's taking me a little time to figure out, but I got them both figured out. I'm going to win this thing.
All right.
I do.
Jason Brin over to visit us. Says he's going to win this tournament. He's got confidence now.
So you can tell he's having fun and he's happy to be there, but he really wants to be liked by these professional poker players, people that he respects and looks up to. People who clearly do not respect him, by the way. For example, he so desperately wants to be Darren Elias's friend.
Darren, if you were my opponent, I'd be right there for you, man.
Darren's heard enough from this guy.
But by the end of it, Darren is so fed up with Jason's shit that when Darren gets knocked out of the tournament, it seems that all he wants to do is literally knock Jason out.
Nice meeting you. Hey, I'd like to hook up with you on Facebook or... Yeah.
Also, I love so much that he asked for the guy's Facebook on national television. Also, whoever edited this together did absolutely no favors to Jason.
Jason Brin, good old boy from Kansas, family man.
He's got his hands full, Vince. He's not only on the short stack, he's facing 3 of the best players in the world.
The entire production seems to be based around making him look like he has no idea what he's doing at all. For example, there's this time where he has no idea it's his turn and he's just sitting there waiting for an eternity.
In position, chip leader.
5-10 total, Darren out. Jason, the 42-year-old businessman out of Kansas.
No, it's on me. Better pay attention.
Or this gem as they're going to break.
Would you like anything to eat? Like,
Yes.
I have a provolone sandwich.
Whatever's ready, because we have break.
The turkey and the provolone's ready.
Okay.
Turkey better?
What's provolone? Cheese?
I have watched a lot of these tournaments and I've never seen them show people order food before. So somehow, some way, Jason makes it to the final 2, where it's a heads-up showdown between him and Andy Wong. They interview both players before the showdown starts, and it's kind of telling that Andy's interview is only about Jason.
He's been chatting a lot at the table, hasn't he?
At first it was a bit annoying. It was getting on me, but I'm okay now.
Okay, you've gotten used to it.
Yes.
Do you think it's part of his strategy?
I'm not too sure. If it is, it's a good one.
There's one hand towards the end that seals the deal for Jason and kind of sums up his whole vibe. Jason has a pair of 3s, the lowest pair on the board, and Andy has a pair of aces, the highest pair on the board. Jason goes all in, which would bring Andy all in, because at this point, somehow, Jason has a sizable chip lead over Andy.
Got him doing the chicken dance here. Yeah, he'll never be the same after this.
Oh, Vance.
Oh, I hate to see it happen.
And after a lot of hemming and hawing, Andy folds in an attempt to preserve his tournament life, thinking Jason must have him beat and there's no way he would fold in this position. But then in a purely diabolical move, Jason shows Andy that he just bluffed the bejesus out of him.
Get ready for the straight jacket. He's gonna lay this down.
He laid it down. Vince, he should have just made a step down. Look at this. Jason's going to show him. Oh. Well, he has sent Andy to La La Land now, Vince. You're right about that.
At this point, Andy's brain has been melted. The next hand, they both go all in, and just look how Andy reacts.
How can he bluff though? The ace is my card. How can you turn into a bluff? I'm like, how can he be bluffing here? But then he did it. I was like,
He doesn't even care about the hand that's currently happening, which will determine if the tournament is over or not, mind you. He cannot get over Jason's bluff. To be honest, I bet you Andy thinks about that bluff like twice a week to this day. The thing about Jason, if you watch this whole tournament, it's really hard to tell if he's dumb drunk or some kind of a genius. I mean, look at Andy. At first, he was just chalking up Jason's performance to beer muscles.
He's been drinking. That's why he's got all this liquid courage, all that courage now.
But by the end, he's convinced Jason is this elite level player.
You have to be a heads-up wizard.
What's that?
Heads-up specialist. I know, that's what you are, heads-up specialist.
And I don't think either is true, to be honest. It's impossible to know. So at this point, it's just a matter of time. And a few hands later, Jason Brin is your 2015 Choctaw champion. And I now have a favorite poker player.
Tell us how you're feeling right now.
It's amazing. It's truly amazing. So throughout the day, I had my doubts when things weren't going good, but I turned up the heat.
There's something about this guy in this situation that I find so inspiring. He did have some great plays, yes, but this was peppered in between bumbling, stumbling, giant mistakes, and some of the biggest strokes of luck ever seen at a poker table. I think that it shows that everyone has their time and place to shine, even if they're not the best or most skilled or most qualified. It gives me hope.
RK4E.
Thanks so much for checking this one out. I really appreciate it. You know what you gotta do if you want to support. I probably won't make another poker video, but let me know if you want me to. I'll do whatever you want.